I'm joining you from Parkdale in Toronto, and I do work on how technology and democracy and society all come together. And that work takes a few different forms, but I look a lot at how governments and people use technology and what that means for access to our rights and what it means for how we're really, building other worlds out together. So a few things need to change. I think one of them is we need to realize the investments that we have to make in all of our public services. So in order for anything in the digital worlds to work well, we have to understand it's how we invest in our physical worlds and how we invest in each other and the services and the infrastructures and the places that we are and the places that we can be together. That's one major issue. So that looks like public institutions to me. That looks like making sure that we create really strong public institutions and community spaces. So that's one thing. The second thing is that we invest in our capacity to work together and to govern more of our digital infrastructure together rather than inheriting it from someone's business model. So thinking about how do we take more ownership and control over systems that don't feel comfortable to a lot of us, unfortunately. But what we know is we know how to share things. We know how to work together to manage them together. So investing in the kind of capacity, which means both places to meet and people who can help us have hard conversations, but also technical capacity. Those are some of the things that I think are priorities for bringing about digital equity. The advice I would give is that the answer to good, to designing and maintaining good technology is not in the technology. It's actually in making sure that we invest in all of our physical infrastructures, that we invest in people, that we invest in good service provision, that we invest in the physical places where we live. Because when we make sure that we have solid, deep, longstanding commitments and investments in our public institutions, in our schools, in our healthcare systems, in our libraries, when those are all very solid, the negative consequences of technology are much smaller. What we have done is we have made ourselves completely unnecessarily vulnerable to technology having a negative impact. And that's why digital equity issues are so important to look to at this point in time. But we really need to understand that if we think we can solve a problem in technology, we're looking at it wrong. That should be a very clear signal. You can't solve issues that have to do with power and that have to do with control, like within a technology. So the advice is really holistic. And I think it's boring for some people to hear this, but because there's so much that we can get in this niche conversation about technology and digital equity and digital infrastructure. But to me, this really solid advice is you have to be working across every possible sector of society so that technology can do its good little part. But that will not be able to happen unless all the other parts of society are well funded, they're functional. We understand that people are where everything, relationships and people are the heart. And we need to make sure people are healthy. We need to make sure people are safe. We need to make sure people are enfranchised in our democracy, that they actually can participate. We haven't met any of those conditions. You're not going to solve any of those problems in technology. So we need to really take it back a couple steps and say, where do we go to build an equitable society and to make sure our democracy is equitable? Once those things are done, then we can tinker around with technology. But if you think you can solve major social problems within a technology or through digital infrastructure, you're wrong.